A few years back, I was engaged. Things didn't quite work out so well. Um, I found out that she had been cheating on me for a while.
So around about the age of my early 20s, I found myself in a very difficult relationship to the point where it was incredibly abusive.
Ali was my middle son out of my 6 boys.
A good friend of mine many years ago, she was quite young and she was impressed by her own grandfather who had committed suicide. He'd actually taken his life with a shotgun.
Life at the time didn't seem worth living.
And in this abusive relationship that I found myself in, it really took me to a very dark place at the time. I wasn't in a good place myself. The lifestyle that I had and the friends that I was hanging out with weren't good.
For the time that I knew her, that impacted her like nothing else. And every time something in my friend's life went wrong, it was always that decision she made: will I commit suicide? Will I take my own life? And unfortunately, I didn't really know how to respond back then, but she'd actually left me, I think it was around 3 suicide notes over a period of time, probably over a period of around a good part of 12 months.
He was having some problems with his health, which was epilepsy, and it was just getting worse with him. In some ways he was very depressed because he'd sort of trapped himself in an emotional box.
And I got roped into a lot of different things. But it really did take me on a spiral down of depression, and to the point where life got quite unbearable. To the point where the thought of death was actually quite enjoyable.
I could see the sadness was in his eyes, but I never thought that he would commit suicide.
I slit my wrists when I was drunk, to the point where I nearly bled to death.
Felt a bit lost that I in some ways I felt I failed him, but I still feel the guilt of not being able to do anything more for him.
Back then, the pain was all in my head. I didn't realize it until afterwards that
On the third occasion, she left a suicide note, and unfortunately back then I didn't really know what to do in that scenario. So my best response back then was to grab the suicide note, screw it up in a ball, and throw it on the fireplace of the house where we're living.
the pain was me feeling sorry for myself, me feeling just nothing. I was numb to the world.
That's the hardest thing, that families will lose family members, and it hits us hard, and it's like a stone that's thrown into a pool of water. The ripple effects go out and out and out and affects everybody else in the family.
On this one particular night, she came into the living room where myself and a couple of friends were, and she said, "I really need to get to the hospital. I think I've done something really bad." And we all knew what she'd done, but we didn't know how to respond. We didn't know what to do. Obviously, when she fell on the floor and started convulsing, and within a couple of minutes, and started to throw up and so forth, we knew this was really serious.
At times he'd ring me and talk to me on the phone and say, "Mum, I just wanted to hear your voice. Just wanted to hear you talking to me."
The feelings on the inside is incredibly dark, incredibly lonely, that you feel that you have nobody to share this pain with. And it's a pain that is constantly in your mind and even physically in your body, that you want this pain to go away.
Just like you say, suicide is not the answer. It may be an easy way out, but it's a selfish act. And I guess that's where I fell short, that I didn't actually take the time to sit down, calm my nerves and pray about it.
Jesus did become that hope in my life and totally changed my life around. But also, I will say, with depression and the thought of suicide, that still took quite a while to get out of my system. I had to cling on to hope.
If I had have known back then what I know now, I now work in an environment where I can professionally respond to people who are suicide. You know, there's programs and there's training and so forth of how to respond and how to help a person pretty much in the physical and obviously in the spiritual. Because, you know, if I was to see that same scenario today as what I saw back then, I would say, you know what? Jesus Christ, He came to bring hope, He came to bring life, and He came to bring it in the abundance. And the suicidal thought that perhaps is now being thought is a plan of the enemy, because his job description is to steal, kill and destroy, and that's exactly what he wants to do, and that's what he's trying to do in anyone's thought pattern who's thinking about suicide.